Good morning. How are you doing? I am VK and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about a slightly odd topic, and that is about a color. Well, amongst all the colors we see around us today, there is one color that has quite an interesting history behind it, and that is blue. So let's get started. Blue, a color that has been long associated with royalty, is considered as the most positive and powerful color. The significance of the color can be seen across the world and in different cultures. For example, in Hinduism, blue is associated with the divine and spiritual transcendence and is considered as the color of all inclusiveness. To the Egyptians, blue was the color of the heavens, the dominion of the gods, and represented the sky, water, primeval flood, birth, and rebirth. Despite the significance of the color blue across the world, it wasn't a color that was widely available to the masses because of its rarity. Well, you see, most of the paints we get today are synthetic. But traditionally, pigments were made by crushing minerals or plants to get various colors. And of all those, blue is one pigment that is extremely hard to find naturally. The only blue that was available apart from woad and indigo, which was susceptible to fading in sunlight, was made from crushing lapis lazuli, a semi-precious stone which was incredibly rare and for centuries was only available on the mountains of Afghanistan. The rarity of the pigment quickly made it the most sought after color, and the cost of the stone even rivaled the price of gold. Lapis lazuli was also said to be the favorite amongst elites and pharaohs in Egypt, which is evident when we look at the jewelry and artifacts recovered from the time period. The famous funeral mask of Tutankhamun was also decorated with this magnificent blue. While on the topic of elites and pharaohs, we cannot exclude one of the most prominent queens of Egypt, Cleopatra. The iconic blue eyeshadow worn by Cleopatra was allegedly powdered lapis lazuli, and powdered lapis lazuli was being used as the primary source of blue pigment by artists for centuries. However, this enigmatic stone is one that can never go out of fashion. Jewelry and ornaments made using lapis lazuli is still something that is highly sought after. When it comes to synthetic pigments, the Egyptians were the first ones to create the blue pigment synthetically. It was made by combining limestone and sand with a copper containing minerals such as azurite or malachite. When heated between 800 to 900 degrees Celsius, this mixture would form blue glass, which was then powdered and used with a binder. Many of the Egyptian artifacts and walls used this paint, and centuries later, in 2006, scientists accidentally discovered that the blue paint on the artifacts glowed under fluorescent lights. This discovery opened up a new use to the color, and the Egyptian blue is still being used today for the detection of fingerprints. There are a bunch of articles that go deep into this topic, and I will link them in the description below. However, there was no recorded usage of this blue in the Middle Ages, which meant that the knowledge of making Egyptian blue was lost over time. But the biggest revolution in the history of blue would come in the early 18th century, where an accidental creation would change the course of modern art forever. In the early 1700s Berlin, a paintmaker by the name Johann Jakob Diesbach would accidentally create a blue, which went on to become the first modern pigment to be synthetically created. At the time, Diesbach was trying to make a red cochineal pigment using potash, ferric sulfate and dried cochineal. But the potash he used was tainted with animal blood, and instead of getting a red color, the animal blood reacted and created a compound known as iron ferrocyanide, which had a distinct blue color and was given the name Berlinische Blau in the year 1709 by its first trader. Ever since it was created, it quickly became an alternative to French ultramarine because not only was it cheap, but it was also much easier to produce. It was used in making paints, inks, and dyes for clothing. We can see its effect in the paintings which were made subsequent to the paint's boom in popularity. From European to Indian to Japanese paintings, the Prussian blue was everywhere. The Japanese adopted the Prussian blue through wood block prints. best known for its use in ukiyo-e, an artistic genre of single sheet prints. The most popular work using Prussian Blue is probably one you have already seen somewhere on the internet, and that is The Great Wave of Kanagawa, which is one of the 36 views of Mount Fuji by Katsushika Hokusai. Apart from the impact it had on artists, it also had its uses in the medicine industry. Prussian blue is used to treat heavy metal poisoning with thallium poisoning and radioactive isotopes of cesium. And today, Prussian blue is considered as one of the most important medicines and is on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines. And this video would be incomplete if I don't use the color myself to make a painting. And I didn't just want the color to be a part of a palette or just be the center of attention in a minimalist painting. I wanted the blue to be the center of attention while also having a reason for being there. So as I was coming up with ideas of what to paint, I remember that back in the day there used to be a lot of animated TV shows of Ramayana and Krishna's adventures. And in all the shows the gods were usually depicted in blue. And I was always fascinated by that. So I thought it would be perfect to make a painting of Krishna using Prussian blue. Krishna is the 8th avatar of Vishnu and is considered to be the god of protection, compassion, tenderness and love. Krishna is commonly depicted with a blue or black color, and in some texts it is poetically described as being the color of a jamun fruit. Many of Krishna's stories can be seen being performed in dance arts like Bharatanatyam, Kathakali, Kuchipudi, Odissi and Manipuri dances, which is what inspired me to go for this pose. This painting took slightly longer than expected. The design and sketch took about 2 days and the painting process also took about 2 days to complete, with a lot of minor additions and adjustments. In the end, the painting turned out to be one of my best works ever, and I did put extra effort into making sure it was. Because just like how we saw all the amazing works from centuries ago, I wanted this to represent what an artist in the 21st century depicted Lord Krishna like. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to visit me once again next time. Until then, see ya. That is about a color. Well, amongst all the colors we see around us today, there is one color that has quite an that is about a color. Well, amongst all the colors we see around us today, there is one color that has quite an interesting history behind it. And that I am VK, and today I wanted to talk about